She was a university student, a most atypical Greek woman, tall and very thin, with reddish hair, a long face, and circles under her eyes. She was dressed in a brown flannel long-sleeve dress buttoned up to the neck. I felt the angularity of her hand. Bumpy blue veins crisscrossed them. Her knuckles were chapped, her fingers cold. Overall, she looked ill. But her voice and the way she spoke English were clear and beguiling. "Stephen, I need to tell you what is happening here in Greece. All of the country is under siege by our military leaders. I think you are sympathetic. I want to tell an American, but we cannot talk here." Athena took my arm and said, "We should go. I will get a message to you, Stephen," she said as she shook my hand. I watched her walk with long strides up to the university's main building. At my desk at the air base the next day, I answered the phone and filed paperwork, but all day I replayed in my mind nothing but Athena and our conversation. A couple of nights later, I came home very late. There was a note on the door. The note, written in ornate cursive, said, "Midnight. Stephen, I walked here to see you. You are not here. It is farther than I thought. I am coughing blood. I cannot wait. Athena." I found her the next day at the university. She said, "We can go to the Acropolis. It is always crowded, many tourists and travelers, but it is safer there for us to talk." We took a taxi. The huge limestone mesa appeared, jutting above the center of the city. We walked through pines and outcrops of stone to the foot of a broad stone stairway that switchbacked up the steepening hill. Athena took it slow. Her breathing labored. We walked some 20 yards or so through the grand entrance, past a large temple with 5 statues of women as its columns. It was a brilliant day. I got chills being on this famous sacred mesa. She told me that her father was a Supreme Court judge. 2 young soldiers came to their flat and kicked the door in. Athena cowered in a corner. "They were country boys," she said, "only 16 years old, drafted, just like you." One whispered to the other, "Which are the communist books?" The other says, "The thick ones." They take all my father's law books and throw them in the incinerator. Athena said, "We must keep moving, walking with the crowds." So we walked across the stone mesa surface, smoothed by millions of footsteps, gleaming and softly undulating. She took my arm and steered us toward the Parthenon, the famous temple. She began pointing up at the stone carvings along the top. She was pantomiming, being an official guide. In a low voice, she said that the colonels kept peace in this police state by employing phalanga. Their favorite torture, foot beating, it is. They bind your legs together, beat the bottoms of your feet with iron pipe. They leave on your shoes so it don't leave marks. We climbed up the Parthenon's marble steps and crossed beneath the columns into the temple. You could do that in those days. Athena turned us toward the eastern end of the space. This is where she was, the statue of Athena. 15 meters tall, Stephen. Can you imagine? She said the statue's skin was ivory, her clothes gold, her eyes and face painted brightly. She was called Athena Parthenos, meaning virgin. That's why this is called the Parthenon. She was installed here in 434 BC. She was torn down centuries later by Christians. Athena was pulling on my arm to leave. Now we Greeks are tearing ourselves down. Someday we will awake from all this.